Alright, so today we're going to be doing Jumping Over It on Jumpcraft. This is my first map that I ever made on this server. It is a extreme map, and it was submitted on the 7th of February 2019. This level is heavily inspired by Bennett Foddy's Getting Over It, which is just it's a fun game to watch people fall and try and get back to where they were. This probably is my best or top 5 maps, one of my top 5 maps that I've made. Most of it was built in a 3 block wide sort of section, and it reaches up to nearly height limit. Trying to verify this was a pain since I really hadn't done much on the server and I was still quite fresh to parkour, so a lot of it was basically just learning how to do the jumps that I'd sort of made. There are several important slash difficult points that I sort of laid out on a piece of paper while I was trying to figure out how to do this. The first sort of jump down there was the paddle jump, which I sort of did earlier. You can sort of see it over there. That one was difficult because you had to jump around the blocks onto the trapdoor, and I mean, I didn't really know how to do Neos, so I had to learn. But the jump that I struggled with the most was probably the ladder one back down there, because I didn't realize that 4 jumps where you're facing blocks and such, like if you're on the very edge of a block having to jump past it, I didn't realize that you had to sort of move back a bit, depending on which way it's facing. So that was really tricky to figure out, and probably the reason why I had as many attempts as I did trying to complete it. Most of this level isn't too bad. The only reason why I'd consider it sort of extreme is because there's no checkpoints, and that sort of makes it difficult, and it's in the way that if you make a mistake, you sort of have to go back like the original game. My record on this map, I think, is 9 minutes or 7 minutes. I got it on my, I think it was like my 3rd run after completing the verification of this map. And I still think that's a kind of good run time, sort of. No, yeah, this is the car that I didn't know how to build. Whoa, okay, I almost fell. Yeah, should we not do that? A lot of this map I sort of didn't know how to build, or didn't want to spend a lot of time trying to figure out, because in the game there's just a lot of objects everywhere, and I sort of didn't want to have to build all of that because there's like hundreds of things everywhere. I know this area looks a little bit rough on the edges because building all like the furniture as accurate as possible is a nightmare. And yeah, after sort of figuring it out, I went straight to the mountain rock area up the top, which is really fun actually. To the right, to the left actually, over there is, it's hard to see because my render distance is down due to lag reasons, but it's a little bit of what used to be the hardest map on the server, which is called Apocalypse. Maybe I'll get to film that one day, but that's just a difficult thing to do. Many people have sort of beat that level though, which is crazy, considering how ridiculous it is. Alright, now we're at And now we're at Orange Hell. So this section isn't too bad. I know one thing that might be a bit annoying is the fact that the lag sometimes just forces you off. But the good thing is that there's a block here, so it doesn't really it doesn't really end up being too difficult. You just stick to the side. Oh my goodness. Okay. There we go. And this bit is also quite tough as you do. Dang it! Let me just. Oh. There we go. Yeah, I don't usually have that much trouble in this section. Maybe it's just specifically laggy now. I mean, I do have a high ping since, well, Australia is very far from where the server is being hosted. But you get what you get. And I can't change much about that. This little section here is the reason why this course is not possible in versions after 1.8. It's because they have that weird server glitch where if you try and sort of go in cramped spaces, like in between fences, or for example there on the piston sort of extension thing, the server just like doesn't know what you're doing and you just get stuck there. And trying to adapt to 1.8 after being in 1.16 for so long, or 1.13 or whatever it was at the time, where like the jumping thing was changed, it felt tricky because I no longer had the giant height bounce that I used to, and it sort of just was, you know, small hop that was just hard to get to different blocks. Of course now it's definitely sort of adapted to it, in the sense where I've got I've got a few strategies and things. I knew backwards momentum at one point, which was a crazy sort of strategy to get, I think it was 4 block jumps done if they're under a 3 block ceiling. But ever since my laptop sort of broke down for a few months, I forgot about it, or how to do it, and I've just come inevitably rusty. Oops. And that's pretty much most of this. It's just stuff that's filled with slightly awkward jumps. They're all kind of okay after you've practiced them a bit, but yeah, during my first completion this was not good. I think I made it to here or so, and then I fell down the bottom to restart, which was less than ideal. And of course, having to do this again was sort of like, oh damn it, was sort of hell, because well, I didn't have experience and that was what I was lacking. Anyway. I think originally I was intending to put barriers on the sides of this map so that you couldn't fall off or skip any sections by doing neos and that. But then I just found it really awkward to sort of climb the mountains over here, because there are some jumps where you have to be on the side of the mountain, and that sort of inevitably was the reason why I had to get rid of the barrier idea. Yeah. But everything's okay. I don't regret not having barriers around. I think that's fine. Also, fun fact, there's a sign back there that says if you're reading this, you're a hacker. or something along the lines of that, because there's no way you should be able to read that without like some crazy flight exploit or something. And I thought that was kind of funny. Another thing is that you can notice how these go downwards rather than across. The sole reason for that is because, well, there wasn't enough space upwards. Because when I had the plot, it was all filled with terracotta, which meant I didn't have all of the building space that I would have if I cleared my plot. And that sort of made it troublesome to fit all of this together. But yeah, by dragging this down, it was just way easier to sort of work with. And I mean, it doesn't affect the level too much since those things are flying. So there's no like proportion problems either. Yeah, I seem to be struggling in this section a little bit. I'm back at that little snow floating rock section. I think there was a you have to sort of run on the end blocks that are covered in snow just to get to the next boulders. Yeah, so it's a little inconsistent. I think it's because of the amount of snow layers, or maybe, I don't know, maybe it's just the positioning in the Y. It doesn't really, I don't know. But, for example, with this one, you'd have to go from the very edge of the block, and for this one, I'd say you have to just go like that, so they have a bit of runtime, but, I mean, I didn't do that, so I fell again. When I was testing this out, the hardest part to me was the stair jump all the way down the bottom at the top of the furniture section. Because trying to run and get the exact sort of distance I needed to make that jump was a little bit infuriating for me. And the timing was a little bit rough. I'm going to try not to fall this time, because that seems unnecessary. For example, I can do this, and that's like, that's just better than having to do that. I think there's another one where I have to do that. Then you got this section. If you jump that way, you'll like donk your head. If you go this way, I think it should be fine. I don't know. There we go. Progress. Alright, so this is a snake. I specifically built this section to be impossible to escape, but now that I realize it, it is probably possible to escape since 1.16 you'll be able to jump. But, like I said earlier, there was a specific jump that's not possible in 1.8, so that's probably, probably the reason why I'm not worried about it that much. That section's a little frightening. I think I said this before in this video, but I fell down that snake thing once by accident, which sucks because it goes all the way back to the beginning like in the original. You think you might be able to like near around, but I've got a bunch of barriers there sort of preventing that, so there's not much you can really do if you fall there. Yeah, this is the last section, little pole. This section also like really sucked because I had like sweaty palms and everything. Because getting through this was like it was a challenge, and this part was like the very end, so I'm obviously trying not to fall around and go back to the start because that's just a nightmare. I still regard Pain Towers as some of the worst parkour there is, just because of how cruddy trying to get around them are. Because they have different sort of strategies for each angle. Because blocks were somehow not coded as being a cube somehow. I don't know why that happened, but it's funny. Also, the reason why I'm pressing tab a lot is because I just have a habit of doing that while sneaking or on ladders or something. In the rank up I for I think it was parkour something the last episode. I did about 20 takes just trying to make sure I didn't press the tab. But I'm already through this one, so that should be enough. Anyway, that is Jumping Over It. I'm proud of this map. I think it's a very good map to start off my making people angry career in this server. Anyway, this is the end of the video. Goodbye. Ow.